Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Apeta Krityam Rapayano Virahakatara Ajuhava Putriti Tan Mayataya Taravo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatusmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaivanarottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tuto Jayam Mudirayet Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshay Tiptastakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vinde Namaste Charanadavindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Okay, so we're going to begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanithalita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Padasta Tarsat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, and the same grateful heartfelt obeisance unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanithalita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Padasta Tarsat Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, under our exalted Rupanuga Varga, and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Okay, so for the last week we've been reading extensively from all different sources about the glories of Srimati Radharani. Right? So we're in a part here, many of you haven't been here, so a lot of the foundational conceptions in Tattva you didn't hear, so, and even if you had, this is very deep stuff. However, this is from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, from Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and he published this in 1968. And most of what he says in this book, no reader has any background or understanding of any of it. I remember when I first tried to read this book, even when I was first coming, couldn't understand anything. However, when you read this, even if you don't understand it, if you're hearing out of interest or with a respectful, submissive attitude, very deep samskaras and impressions are coming into your heart. And they will gradually, like a little seed, first sprout, then little stalk, two little baby leaves, gradually expanding into a beautiful creeper that will grow and grow, surpass all the limits of the material world as your devotion grows, and ultimately wrap itself around the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. So what we had been reading from this Teachings of Lord Chaitanya was from chapter 31, and Srila Prabhupada is glorifying Srimati Radhika. He's basically giving us the descriptions from Ramananda Roy Samvad in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 8 of the Madhya Lila. And now he's going to continue. We didn't quite finish yesterday. So, after hearing all about Srimati Radharani, the last thing he said, he was talking about so many different competitors to Radharani. But we've already heard how all these competitors are Radharani's own expansions, right? all the gopis, the queens, goddesses of fortune, all these are Kaya Vyuha, expansions of Radhika herself. Why? In order to create more and more pastimes, more and more opportunity for exchanges of love and infinite varieties of situations. So they're competitors, but only to enhance their own urgency, their own desires, their own determination, and to give Krishna infinite varieties of pleasure. Right? But remember, we heard that in the apparent dichotomy between Radha and Krishna, they're actually one. They're actually equal in every way. Srila Prabhupada makes that point. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Don't think of their role as the servant and as the receiver of servant, as the supreme male, the supreme female, having anything to do with the relationships in this material world. That takes a while to get over, right? But they are one. They're two parts of the same complete whole that expand or divide. They've never divided, but we use that kind of language, right? They're eternally two, but they're also eternally one soul. Radhika describes this in Prem Samput by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to Krishna himself. They know each other's hearts fully and completely, and they're both absolutely, totally dedicated to giving pleasure and happiness to the other. So, Radhika expands herself in all those ways. And then the last thing we read was that, given the example of Satyabhama, for instance, is a competitor of Srimati Radharani's, but she always desires to come to the standard of Srimati Radharani. All the queens of Dwarka do. Radharani is so expert in all affairs that all the damsels of Braj come to learn arts from her. She's Adi Guru, right? The topmost devotees in all the spiritual universe are the gopis. And Radhika is the topmost of all, the teacher of all. She's even the guru of Krishna in the affairs of love, in dancing and singing and all of the arts. She is so extraordinarily beautiful that even the goddess of fortune and Parvati, the wife of Lord Shiva, desire elevation to her standard of beauty. Arundhati, who is known as the most chaste lady in the universe, desires to learn the standard of chastity from Srimati Radharani. Since even Lord Krishna cannot estimate Radharani's highly transcendental qualities, it is not possible for an ordinary man to estimate them. So if you're having some difficulty thinking you understand this, trying to understand it, don't worry. You can't, right? It's unlimited. Even Krishna's bewildered by it. But we can hear it and become enlivened and attracted. So now he continues, the last part of this section from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Ramananda Roy then began his explanation, saying that the transcendental activities of Radha and Krishna are very confidential. These activities cannot be understood by one who has an emotional relationship with the Supreme Lord as servant to master, friend to friend, or parent to son. This confidential subject matter can be understood only in the association of the damsels of Braj. For these confidential activities have arisen from the feelings and emotions of those damsels. Without the association of the damsels of Braj, one cannot nourish or cherish such a transcendental understanding. In other words, because these confidential pastimes of Radha and Krishna have expanded through the mercy of the damsels of Braj, without their mercy, one cannot understand them. One has to follow in the footsteps of the damsels of Braj in order to understand. So what does that mean? Mahaprabhu came to give the Juga Dharma, the chanting of the holy name, and it can be accepted by people according to their adhikar, according to their ultimate destination internally. People may chant the holy name with different spiritual objectives. Some people may want to go to Vaikuntha. Some people may have a strong desire as they mature, to become a friend of Krishna, or a parent, or even something like that appears to be in Dasya Ras, Shanta, like a tree even, a Kalpaviksha tree, or a blade of grass to let Krishna step on me and make the ground very soft. There are infinite forms that exist in the spiritual world for giving pleasure and service to Radha and Krishna. And in all of those forms, they're all there to assist in the loving pastimes between Krishna and the damsels of Braj. Even Sakya Ras and Vatsalya Ras assist Madhurya Ras. That's the ultimate objective of everything in Braj, to assist and nourish Madhurya Ras. So the secrets of Madhurya Ras, though, can only be revealed, explained, and even cherished by those damsels of Braj themselves. No one else is competent to understand or explain them. And this, Ramananda Roy makes this very clear, and Srila Prabhupada is reiterating this. So in our line, our parampara, specifically coming from Rupa Goswami, our acharyas are all in that Madhurya Ras. They are all members of that collection of Braja Devis, either gopis or manjaris, mostly from Rupa Goswami, all manjaris, direct assistance to Srimati Radhika. And sometimes people will say, they speculate, not having realized the ras or the identity of a great personality, they may speculate, oh, by his writings I can understand he's in Sakya Ras. Sometimes they apply it even to our Srila Prabhupada. And they'll give some evidence based on their own logic and reasoning. But self-realized souls in our line have said clearly Srila Prabhupada is in Madhurya Ras, right? That he's definitely a gopi. And it's clear that all the servants in the line from Rupa Goswami have to be manjaris if you want to deliver the most confidential teaching that Mahaprabhu came to deliver, right? Unnata Ujjvala Rasam Swabhakti Sriyam, the confidential service to Srimati Radharani. Only a gopi can teach this. Only a gopi can understand and awaken it and guide other living entities in this. No one else can understand it. It's said over and over and over. Without their mercy, one cannot understand this. One has to follow in the footsteps of the damsels of Braj. Sometimes people say, oh, we're Priyanarmasaka. But no, Priyanarmasaka, they have some connection with Krishna's activities, with his beautiful Braja Devis. They can assist in meetings and deliver messages, but they can't understand the internal sentiments, nor can they participate in them, right? Not possible, because over and over it's stated only those in female body have access to this, only those gopis. So, Srila Prabhupada one time said the acharyas coming from Mahaprabhu are either followers of Nityananda or the gopis, right? They could, or Rupa Goswami. But our Rupa Goswami, that line is a clear line with our acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we go back further, Narottam Das, right? Srinivas, Shamananda, Krishna's Kaviraj, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, right? All clearly self-identified as that. And so, our Srila Prabhupada, the principal acharya in the modern age for delivering this understanding to the Western world, how could he be anything but in that line? And he's clearly saying that anyone who wants to share and explain this has to be in that line, right? He wrote this in 1968. So he goes on to say, when one is actually situated in that understanding, he becomes eligible to enter into the confidential pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Oh, wait, so who might be a follower of Nityananda in Sakya Ras? Well, we have many great personalities coming from Mahaprabhu that are in that Ras. We've got Hriday Chaitanya, the Diksha Guru of Shamananda Prabhu. Right? We have Subal in this lifetime. Devati Devi Gauridas, Gauridas Pandit, Subal Saka, many others like that. Abhiram Thakur, Sridham. Many of the great followers of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda are in Sakya Ras, no doubt. Some in Dasya Ras, right? But those in the line of Rupa Goswami, all in this Madhurya Ras, because you can't teach this and bring people to that platform unless you are a damsel, a Braja Devi, a servant of Radha and Krishna in that mood. So, for one who wants to understand these confidential pastimes, there is no alternative to following in the footsteps of the damsels of Braj. This is confirmed in the Govinda Lilamrita. Quote, although manifest, happy, expanded, and unlimited, the emotional exchanges between Radha and Krishna can be understood only by the damsels of Braj or their followers. Just as no one can understand the expansion of the spiritual energy of the Supreme Lord without his causeless mercy, no one can understand the transcendental sex life between Radha and Krishna without following in the footsteps of the damsels of Braj. The associates of Radharani include her personal associates called Sakis and her near assistants called Manjaris. It is very difficult to express the dealings of Radharani's associates with Krishna because they have no desire to mix with him or enjoy with him personally. Right? This is the Manjaris. The friends of Radhika, her other Gopi assistants, they're more inclined to Radhika, and they have a desire to arrange with Radha and Krishna more than to be with him directly. However, they do enjoy with him directly. Their identity is described as sambhog ichamai. Their internal sentiment is that they're going to give happiness and fulfill Krishna's kam by being his lover, his direct lover. But they also get great, great pleasure, even more pleasure, by arranging for Radha and Krishna to be together. But the maidservants are distinguished in that the Manjaris, they have no desire to have sambhog or intimate meetings with Krishna directly. They are kamarupa, their love is a nature kamatmika, in that they want to fulfill Krishna's desires in Madhurya Ras, but they want to do it by assisting Radhika in her service to Krishna. This is their greatest pleasure. That's called tat bhav ichamai. They enjoy by seeing Radha and Krishna together, and somehow by the blessings of Radhika, they get to taste her moods. This is the extraordinary nature of the Manjari. There could be no higher objective for the jiva than to be in that situation, to taste Radhika's own moods directly. He's going to explain how that works. So, they have no desire to mix with him or to enjoy with him personally. Rather, they are always ready to help Radharani associate with Krishna. Their affection for Krishna and Radharani is so pure that they are simply satisfied when Radha and Krishna are together. Indeed, their transcendental pleasure is in seeing Radha and Krishna united. The actual form of Radharani is just like a creeper embracing the tree of Krishna, right? She's like a creeper wrapped around the tamal tree. Tamal tree is dark. The creeper is golden, right? Golden creeper. And the damsels of Braj, the associates of Radharani, are just like the leaves and flowers of that creeper. When a creeper embraces a tree, the leaves and the flowers of the creeper automatically embrace it. The Govinda Lilamrita describes the pleasure of Radharani's associates as follows. Now, this is also quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I believe this is the revised version of the TLC. I would like to get a copy from 1968 because there's a slight problem with the translation that you see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also. Srila Prabhupada didn't translate that directly. He had his servants translate it, and then he wrote the purports. And when you read the purports, there's a difference in the purport from the way this is translated. It's easy to understand how they may have translated it like this if you look at the word for word, but the underlying tattva is just a little off, and I'll explain it. It says, the Govinda Lilamrita describes the pleasure of Radharani. Radharani, the expansion of the pleasure potency of Krishna, is compared to a creeper, and her associates, the damsels of Braj, are compared to the flowers and leaves of the creeper. When Radharani and Krishna enjoy themselves, the damsels of Braj relish the pleasure more than Radharani herself. Now, what it means to say is that they would enjoy it more than they would being with Krishna directly. No one enjoys more than Radharani. This is made clear in so many other places. Her level of Mahabhav, none of her intimate associates, no one experiences Mahabhav on the level of Radharani, right? So they're enjoying more than they would with Krishna themselves. And the translation goes on, in another way it says when Radharani arranges for her own sakis to be with Krishna, then she enjoys more than she would with Krishna directly. Now that's correct. That's correct. But it's subtle, and this is just a teeny bit off. Right? So although the associates, it's not Srila Prabhupada it's off, it's the way the translation is. Not saying that Prabhupada got this wrong in any way, shape, or form. Although the associates, because it is purports in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you see, he describes in the purport what I just said. So, although the associates of Radharani do not expect any personal attention from Krishna, Radharani is so pleased with them that she arranges individual meetings between Krishna and the damsels of Braj. Indeed, Radharani tries to unite her associates with Krishna by many transcendental maneuvers, and she takes more pleasure in these meetings than in her own meetings with him. When Krishna sees that both Radharani and her associates are pleased by his association, he becomes more satisfied. Such loving reciprocation has nothing to do with material lust, although it resembles the material union between man and woman. Because of that similarity, such reciprocation is sometimes called, in transcendental language, transcendental lust, as confirmed in the Gautamiya Tantra. Lust means, and so that word, Sanskrit, is kam. And in the discussion in the Jivadharma, when Babaji Maharaj describes to Brajanath the concept of kam, transcendental kam, he says, well, that word's kind of harsh, because mostly he only used the word kam in relation to material lust. So he's wondering, why would we use such a word? And he says, well, we don't have any other words. And so the material words sometimes are inadequate or convey the wrong impression, so we have to clarify it. But so there's transcendental kam. That's the pleasure between Krishna and Radha and Krishna. And as we see here, and it's described in the further sequence with Ramananda Roy talking with Mahaprabhu, he says that when the gopis see Krishna satisfied by their service, by their selfless service, even though they don't seek any personal happiness, they become overwhelmed with transcendental pleasure. Pleasure based on, oh, now Krishna's happy. That makes them happy. And when they become happy, they become even more beautiful. Then Krishna sees that they're so happy by serving him, and they've become so beautiful by that, he knows they've become happy, that makes him happy. He just wants his devotees to be happy. And when he sees that, he becomes happy, and more beautiful. And then, when the gopis see Krishna's happiness is expanding even more and he's becoming more beautiful by their service, they become more happy and more beautiful. And then when Krishna sees, oh, they're happy, oh, that makes me so happy, and he becomes more beautiful. They become happy by the happiness of each other. Selfless, pure love, not motivated in any way by self-interest, right? Their only interest is the happiness and pleasure of the other. So lust means attachment to one's personal sense gratification. But as far as Radharani and her associates are concerned, they have no desire for personal sense gratification. They only want to satisfy Krishna. Right? So we have a reflection of that. Everybody glorifies and aspires for selfless service, right? It's a joy to perform service and make other people happy. But at the same time, because we're materially contaminated, we still want to be recognized for our selfless service. Napoleon said, once I found out what a man will do just to get a little medal on his chest, I knew I could conquer the world. People will sacrifice their own lives for recognition and glory, or to have their name on a monument of dead heroes, but in a more simple term, oh, you're doing such nice service, Prabhu. Oh, Jai Mataji, you're such a good sevak. Yes, I am, we get happiness in being praised. But gopis, they don't want to be praised. So many examples in Jaiva Dharma. Oh, and Krishna Leela, Mahaprabhu Leela. When people are praised, they go, oh, Vishnu, Vishnu. They close their ears. They don't want to hear their own praise. Right? It interferes. So it's just something. It's not out of the ordinary for us. We want to be recognized because, of course, you want to make sure that people are happy by the service you're doing, that it's appropriate and all. But lying deep in there is also pratistasha, the desire for that praise. And you know what Raghunath Das said about that? That is like association with the dog-eating witch, right, of that praise. And he said taking enjoyment from that praise is like taking a hot shower in donkey urine, hot steaming donkey urine, and thinking, oh, this is so pleasurable, this nice warm shower, and I'm getting so clean, right? I guess if you've never had a hot shower in clean, pure water, your only shower you've ever had is donkey urine, you might think it's great. But it's not really very great at all, is it? Do you get cleansed by that? No, you come out smelling like a nasty donkey, right? So we don't want that. No. We don't want that praise. So we try to purify ourselves of that and seek and pray within our heart for selfless service, taking happiness in that. Right? And this idea of they only want to satisfy Krishna is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 31st chapter, the last verse of the Gopi Gita. If you ever want to hear something extraordinary to help you understand about selflessness of the gopis, read Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami's book, the Gopi Gita. And he draws from the commentaries of Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his explanations of these prayers. And this was the last and one of the most beautiful. Yate sujata charanam buruham staneshu bitanchanai priyadati mahikwa kakisheshu tenata vimatasi tadvyatate nakim svit kurpadi bir brahmati dir bhavadu ayusamna. My dear friend Krishna, you are now roaming in the forest with your bare feet, which you sometimes keep on our breasts. When your feet are on our breasts, we think that our breasts are too hard for your soft feet. Now you are wandering in the forest and walking over rough stones, and we do not know how you are feeling. Since you are our life and soul, the displeasure you are undergoing in traveling over the rough stones is giving us great distress. Srila Prabhupada says, such feelings expressed by the damsels of Braj constitute the highest Krishna-conscious emotions. It's interesting that he picks this out. Again, 1968, one of his very first books, before he had done the Chaitanya Charitamrita, didn't even know if he could do it, if he would have time, how long he would be here. He wanted to make sure that the seeds of this transcendental truth would be planted in the hearts of whoever could read this. Right? Anyone who actually becomes captivated by Krishna consciousness approaches the level of the gopis. There are 64 categories of regulated devotional service, the performance of which helps one to rise to the gopis' stage of unconditional devotion. Affection for Krishna on the level of the gopis is called ragatmika, spontaneous love. When one enters into a spontaneous loving affair with Krishna, there's no need to follow the Vedic rules and regulations. So just that little bit there. I remember when I was a pretty new devotee and first began to read the Nectar of Devotion, right, which is a kind of a study of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, taking excerpts and giving explanations. And in it, Srila Prabhupada began to talk about that spontaneous loving service. And I couldn't really understand it beyond the idea is that you're so enlivened in Krishna consciousness that you're just automatically happy and spontaneous in doing service. Couldn't understand what that meant beyond the rules and regulations and how the heart was awakened to such a degree that just by hearing of Krishna's Leela, you develop a mature desire to perform that specific kind of service under the guidance of that kind of devotee, right? This is real Raganuga. Raganuga means the actual awakening of bhav in the heart, right? Where your own spiritual identity begins to awaken in your heart, specific feelings of service under the guidance of particular associates of Krishna, and even specific kinds of service begin to stir in the heart. And going to Sri Guru will say, yes, come to me in private, and I will give to you more detailed understanding of how to cultivate and develop these internal moods of service and awaken your own spiritual identity. That's the beginning of Ekadash Bhav, the 11 aspects of your spiritual identity and service, your relationships, right? Your family, where you live, all of these things about your internal identity. And that will also go through different stages, right? But this verse, and the verses before, one of the beautiful things about it, because Srila Prabhupada is talking about selfless service, and when Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj breaks these verses down, he shows that there seems to be parts of their song where they're singing to him, to call him, where they're praying to Krishna to satisfy their own desires. Oh, we're burning in separation from you. Please come before us, right? Now, this may be expressed. There's two major divisions of gopis that are singing this song, right? The left wing and the right wing. And one group belongs to Chandravali, and they're very submissive. And they can openly display their feelings to Krishna, right? But the other group, under Srimati Radhika, they don't openly display, generally, their own feelings, right? Because love directly expressed is not as subtle and enjoyable as love that's spoken indirectly. In fact, when you directly express your emotions, it can actually minimize the love and the value of it. Srila Gurudev gives the example of a friend, really close friend. He's coming over to your house, right? And, oh, you've come. Oh, well, I know that you really like this particular kind of sweet. I've arranged at the market to have all of these nice things that I know you enjoy, and I'm going to make a nice feast just for you, just the way you like it. And you speak about it. What all the things you've done for them, all the things that you know they're happy. Now, this is not as deep an expression of love as it would be without saying anything, just to have it all served out. Because when you describe all that, you're sort of, I've got your favorite sweet. Do you like it? Do you like it? You're seeking some, reciprocation, some praise. Oh, my friend, you know I like her. But you're saying it outright, and that sort of covers or pours water on the fire of that affection by directly speaking it. In this world, it's just the opposite. In this world, counselors say between married men and women, every morning, tell your wife or your husband you love them, and just before you go to bed, say you love them. But you can say it more in your actions and in your thoughts and expressions and, indirect conversation. People that always say I love you, anybody can say I love you, right? Anybody can talk it, but can you actually display it in a selfless, beautiful way? In this world, it's really not possible. In this world, the love is a reflection of the way that love is experienced and expressed in the spiritual world. And so, like a reflection, what's right is left and left is right. It's just like a opposite. So the gopis are sometimes praying in these prayers, oh, please satisfy our desires. We're burning in lust. Oh, be with us. Right? And so they comment, Vishnu Chakravarti Jiva Goswami, they say, why are they doing this so directly? And they ordinarily they wouldn't. But they're so concerned with Krishna's need to be in the Rasa Leela and to dance with them. Why did he run away? We're just about to fulfill his greatest desire. We'd already started, and now he's not here, right? And so they thought, between lover and beloved, usually the other wants the other to express their desire, to make it known first. And generally, the lady's expecting the man to take the first step. The man wants the lady to express first. So they're thinking, all right, let us abandon our genuine reluctance to express our feelings directly. Let's express them directly, and then Krishna will know how much we love him, how much we need him. That will give him great happiness. In this situation, the direct expression will give him great, great happiness. So we will sacrifice our modesty and speak it directly. Right? And even in saying, please put your feet, other times on our breasts, they're saying, not for us, but because your feet are so tender, right? And you're walking in the forest, and we worry about you. You don't have any shoes on. Mother Jashoda wanted Krishna to wear shoes when he first began cow herding, right? And she wanted him to carry an umbrella because it's a hot sun. That's the motherly love, right? Okay, you can go cow herding for the first time, but you have to wear shoes. There's thorns and sharp rocks out there and burrs and other things to hurt your tender feet. And the sun is very strong, so take an umbrella. And Krishna said, no, mother, I am a cowherd boy. I am the caretaker and the protector of the cows. And if you want me to wear shoes, then you have to get shoes for all of our cows. And since we have so many cows, you have to get 4 shoes for each of them, because they have 4 feet. And you have to have an umbrella for each of them. How can I go out with more protection than my cows? Right? But the gopis are concerned, because the cows are stupid animals, and they have hooves. So they may walk over sharp rocks and walk across thorns and everything like that. And Krishna, desiring to guide them to the proper place, is going to follow them over these places that are going to hurt his feet. Hot rocks, they're burning in the heat of the day, they're sharp, there are thorns everywhere. Oh, Krishna, we worry for your feet. We're so concerned for you. They're expressing these things indirectly and directly. So, Krishna's hiding, and he's thinking of this. And in this case, even Radhika and her friends are speaking like this. Generally, in the Gopi Gita, in the earlier verses, there are multiple meanings for each of the verses, based on whether it's a left-wing group saying it or the right-wing group. They're all saying it, but in their hearts they have different moods. And the Sanskrit language is so deep that you can take different meanings from the same verse, right? So in this case, though, they're all expressing directly because they want Krishna to come back. And Krishna, why is he hiding in the first place? Why did he even run away in the first place? Right? And this goes back to the glories of Radharani. And we've been hearing she's the topmost. Only she can give Krishna complete pleasure. When all the gopis had come for the Rasa Leela, finally, this first Rasa Leela, right, in the autumn, after the Katyayani Vrat, after lifting Govardhan Hill, after being in the coils of Kaliya, all these pastimes to excite the eagerness to be together. And when it had reached a peak and neither could stand the separation any longer, and then understanding this, Yogamaya ranges and the autumn moon rising in the eastern sky, coloring the sky with red like the vermilion, right, on the gopi's hair, and the color of Anurag, and all the conditions, the fragrance of the forest, the singing of the birds, the sound of the bees, everything had come together to set the perfect environment for the rasa, for Krishna and his beloveds to come together. Then Krishna, also no longer able to wait, call them all with his flute. They all come running. And what does he do? Why are you here? Why'd you come out to the forest at this late night? What? You called us. I didn't call you. You certainly did. And then there were so many verses where they explain, yes, you did call us by your, well, I didn't say anything. No, you did say something. You said something in the past by your flute song, by your beautiful smiling face, by your captivating eyes, by our confidential talks together at different times, right? So many ways you expressed your desire. And so we knew your desire. And so we've come. And they argue back and forth. And what that does, that just increases each of their urgency. Sometimes then when Krishna says, yes, yes, we should be together, then they pose a little resistance. And then Krishna's desire becomes stronger. And then the gopis seeing that, then they express eagerness, and then Krishna puts some resistance, and this way prema reaches higher and higher levels. And then when they finally begin the dance, and everybody's so ecstatic, each gopi thinks, oh, I'm the most fortunate girl in the universe. Krishna's with me alone. Somehow Yogamaya covers them so that they think that Krishna's only dancing with them. And then Radhika, who's in the middle with Krishna, sees all this. She can see everything. Krishna can't hide anything from her. And she is the source of Yogamaya. And she sees Krishna dancing with everyone, and the mood of all of these gopis, that Krishna is her beloved, in order to exact an even higher level of prema, and to teach the lesson that Krishna's only beloved is actually Radhika, and everybody else serves that relationship. She leaves, apparently angry. And when Krishna sees her gone, even though he's surrounded by all of her expansions, sometimes it's said billions of gopis, who knows how many, still without Radhika, it has no joy. And so he leaves. And then all the gopis are tossed into waves of despair, because just when they'd begun, it's all over. But what was the purpose of that? They begin searching for Krishna everywhere, and then finally, after asking all the different inhabitants of the forest, they asked the deer, they asked the birds, they asked the trees, they asked Tulsi. None of them will respond for different reasons. You can read about that. But finally, they see the footprints of Radha and Krishna. They don't know it's Radhika. Radhika's own group knows it's her footprints because they recognize, but the others don't know. All they do know is that this gopi must be Krishna's most beloved. Because of all of us, he's gone to her alone. And they develop some admiration. And this is what Krishna wanted. He wanted that everyone understand Radhika's supreme position. And then finally, they're getting very close. Krishna and Radhika are together in a secluded kunja. He's serving her so sweetly in so many ways. She's satisfied, but Radhika now is feeling something else. I'm with Krishna, but my Sakis are not. And Radhika, remember we heard yesterday? Compassionate, soft heart. She wanted her Sakis to be with Krishna as well. And then she hears them approaching from a distance. And Krishna says, oh, let's move on to another place. Because he also hears them. And he does not want them to be together. And when the gopis see them. And I remember the first time I heard this, I think we were in Govardhan at that time, when Srila Narayan Maharaj was speaking. And he spoke this. And I'd never heard this point before, and it astonished me. How our acharyas know the hidden psychology of Radha and Krishna. And he said, so Radhika wants her Sakis to meet because she wants, as we just heard, she takes even more pleasure arranging for Krishna to be with them. But Krishna's thinking, no, I don't want this. Why? Because he knew, if right now they're developing some appreciation for this special Saki. They know that she alone is with me. But if they come and they see her with me alone, what will happen? Jealous anger. And the harmony that I wanted to establish in the Rasa Leela will not be possible. So, he says, let's go to the next place. And Radhika, trying to stall him, says, oh, okay, but I'm so tired. I don't know if I can walk any further. Trying to stall. Krishna says, okay, get on my back. And so she turns and was going to climb on his back, and he disappeared. And what does that do? It sends Radhika into a state of separation so profound. And then her friends and others come to see her. They see her there, but she's deep, deep in separation. A separation so deep, they recognize it for what it is, more strong and more powerful than any that they might ever experience. And then because she's not with Krishna, but because she's in separation, and they're in separation, then they're all in the same boat together. And then they have sympathy for her. And they feel, this poor Saki, she has such love for Krishna. Look at her separation. We're also in separation, but her separation is so great. And they acknowledge in their hearts the greatness of Radharani in a sisterly way. They're all together, and they embrace her, right? And then, they sing this Gopi Geet. And then after this last prayer, when Krishna's heard all these incredible expressions of love, intense, selfless, pure, beautiful love, such a song never expressed anywhere in the universe, he can no longer be separated. He has to be with them. And even though he's been very near hearing everything and even watching them, he emerges from the forest. And he's dressed in such a splendid way, decorated with what? With the symptoms of his love for them. And it's described in the commentaries, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that no one had ever seen such a beautiful form of Krishna in the past. It was the most beautiful form that had ever been seen. Why? Because Krishna shows himself, as described in the 4th chapter, according to the love of the devotee. Right? The mirror of the heart reflects the beauty of Krishna according to your rasa, according to your love. Right? That's the deeper meaning of yeyatam mam prapadyante. Right? As you love me, I will reciprocate. So the gopis saw Krishna in such a beautiful, magnificent way because of their love that they expressed and because of their love for Radhika, and at this point recognizing her as the best of them all, and then Rasa Leela could take place in the most perfect and lovely way. Right? So, tomorrow is Radhika's day, and this is no better way to celebrate and honor that by this beautiful Keturi Kirtan. We're supposed to have a class at 11 or 11:30. Anybody know? Anyway, one of those. It's on the board there. And so that's a short class, maybe half hour. And that time we'll be talking about the history and the meaning, some of the meanings of the Keturi Kirtan festival, what it represents. and what we're trying to honor. And what's it say? 11:30? 11:30? Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll stop here and have our Guru Puja. I think the pujaris are ready. This is a little bit earlier than we generally do. Okay, so I have to sign off here. And there, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Srimati, Radharani, Krishna, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.